Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan. I am just one reader, your favorite Mexican booktuber who reads in English. And by the way, this is my first time using this microphone, so fingers crossed that you will enjoy the quality, the experience. Let me know in the comments down below if you find this, a good upgrade. Anyway, it is August 2023. We are officially halfway through the year, and it's time to make a video that I always find very interesting and very fun to make myself and to watch from other channels as well. These are my top 5 best and worst books that I have read so far in 2023. Now, yes, I will say that 2023 has been kind of a mess of a reading year for me. I haven't read a lot. I've only read like 27 or 28 books, which is not a lot if you compare that to what I've read in previous years. This year, life has gotten in the way, as it sometimes does, and I'm okay with that because I still have managed somehow to have read some amazing books, but also some stinkers. So without any further ado, let's get started with the stinkers, the worst books that I have read so far in 2023. Enjoy! So firstly, Sharp Ends by Joe Abercrombie. I feel a little bad putting this as one of the worst books that I have read thus far in the year, but it was just kind of a letdown. It wasn't terrible. This is a collection of short stories set in the world of Joe Abercrombie's first law. Yeah, it was just kind of hit and miss. But really, ultimately, my point was this did not feel like a cohesive enough short story collection. It did not feel like a collection. It just felt like random supplementary material that he just threw into this book, and I was just kind of by the end. So not exactly a bad book, but certainly a book that didn't give me anything. Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth, book 4 in the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. I also feel guilty putting this book in this list because Rick Riordan is a great author. I genuinely believe that he is such a great, fresh, funny voice, and I want to read more by Rick Riordan, but this book was just relentless. It was way too plot heavy and action packed, and I just really struggled caring about any of the characters or anything that was happening. It just felt like a very chaotic movie that I was watching, and it was just like a tornado. Just make it stop. Another book that was incredibly disappointing. Jade City by Fonda Lee. Now, a lot of people have told me that I should not judge this book alone, that I should really try and read books 2 and 3 in the trilogy, but oh my god, I feel like in order for me to read those books, I would have to reread this book again because nothing really stuck with me. And I think that's the biggest sign that this book just was not for me personally. I'm sure this book could be for you. This book could be for many readers out there, but this was just not for me. I just found it very unoriginal. The writing was nothing to write home about. The characters were kind of promising some interesting things, but I just didn't really find anything in this book that was immersive enough or interesting enough or just enough of anything to really make me hold like the interest in this story. I don't know if I phrased that correctly, but yeah, I didn't really feel anything. So why continue? Another incredible letdown was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and this is a confession that I that I say, like, I didn't like The Handmaid's Tale. It's a confession that always makes me feel like so ignorant and ashamed of myself. But you know what? If a book is not for me, it's just not for me. I don't want to be some kind of wannabe. This is just not good enough for me. This book, man, it was really dull. It was really boring. There were some things that I really loved about it, like the mystery and the eerie atmosphere at first, but then I don't know. It was a book where the ideas presented were great and the world, the dystopian idea was great, but I don't know. Again, the same complaint that I've had for the previous books goes for this one as well. Nothing really made me care. If you have a great idea, a great concept, and a great message, like a social message to convey, that's not enough for me particularly. And now the worst book that I have read so far in 2023 has to be A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R. Martin. This book was a disaster. I was so furious at this book. I almost threw my copy at the wall. It was just so badly written. I don't like George Martin's writing style. I never have. I think that he has some great ideas and some characters in his Game of Thrones series, the Song of Ice and Fire series. I genuinely enjoyed the first 3 books in that saga. But here, I was just so bored. I was so bored. Like vocal fry bored. I was just like, what is this? Why am I reading this torture? Why? Nothing interesting in this book. A few characters, the 2 co-protagonists, fairly interesting, but they did not give me anything. So it was even more frustrating because it was like there was the promise of something great and he did not deliver on that. The stories were so bland, so repetitive, so meandering. I think this book actually highlights everything that I hate about George R. Martin's writing style, so no. Now, after the stinkers, now let's get to the heavenly delights, the top 5 best books that I have read thus far in 2023. Song of SpiderMan by Glenn Berger is just an incredible read. If you enjoy nonfiction, especially about theater, musical theater, or just any kind of nonfiction about human endeavors, human enterprises doing something with people and collaborative efforts. If you enjoy nonfiction about artistic endeavors as well, this book is great. It's so well written, so sincere, so honest, so mocking of itself. I think Glenn Berger, the author, is very honest and down to earth and mocking of himself. He doesn't take himself too seriously. And by the way, this is about the doing and undoing, the creation and destruction, the downfall of the Spider-Man musical, the Broadway musical, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which was a disaster. But getting to read about this story, what went on backstage, was enthralling. It's such a great book. I flew through this book. It was so hard to put it down, and I was just laughing my face off. It was so entertaining. Wonderful, wonderful read. Renegades Magic by Robin Hobb. Oh, this is a very shiny cover. Renegades Magic is book 3 in the Soldier Son trilogy, which is a series that many people don't read. They just read some books by Robin Hobb, like the Realm of the Elderlings books, and they don't bother reading this, the Soldier Son trilogy, which is a completely individual, separate series. It has nothing to do with the Realm of the Elderlings, with Fitz or the Fool. It's completely of its own, in a different universe with different characters. And oh man, this book, it was amazing. I will say, I thought book 2 was the best one of the series. I think book 2, Forest Mage, is one of the best things that I've ever read. It was just outstanding. That book was remarkable. One of Robin Hobb's top 3 books that she's ever written, in my opinion. But Renegades Magic, even though it did not live up to the highest highs of book 2, it was just such an interesting way of of closing a series and closing a character arc. It was sort of satisfying in a very different kind of way. It was such an interesting finale to a series. It's unexpectedly satisfying. It's bittersweet. It's there's a resolution, but it's not exactly the resolution that you think you were going to get. But it's just such a remarkable feat of writing, in my opinion. So yeah, I cannot believe more people have not read this trilogy, and yeah, the finale was amazing. Then I have two books in the same series by the same author, Magpie Murders and Moonflower Murders by Anthony Horowitz. These books have given me life. They have given me life. These books are just great. These are perfect examples of a Juan book, like a Juan book, a me book. If you ask me what is a book that represents your reading taste and the little quirks that you enjoy reading about in a book, Anthony Horowitz's Magpie and Moonflower Murders. It's exactly what I love about the reading experience, period. And that sounds a little overly dramatic, but it's absolutely true. These books are mysteries, they are thrillers, they're actually murder mysteries, whodunits, really. They are meta, meaning that they have books within books, framing devices. They are incredibly playful. They play with themselves. They play with the author. They play with you, the reader. They play with character. They play, especially book one, Magpie Murders, really plays with the notion of fiction and storytelling. And truth. I think they are just perfect books for bookish people because they are about a woman who is an editor. She works in the publishing industry, and she has to, find solutions to these mysteries using literature, using books, reading books, and it's just such a perfect, delightful experience. I think my favorite one has to be the first one, but the second one is just as great. I just loved this one because of the novelty, I think. But these books are just absolutely spectacular. And finally, my favorite book of the year has to be Liberation Day by George Saunders. Let me take a minute because I need to relax because, I'm just excited thinking about this book. George Saunders is my favorite writer in the short story format. I think he commands the English language like nobody else. I think he's just a great craftsman of language, and the way that he uses very minimalistic prose, a very minimalistic style, and is able to create this surreal, bizarre, whimsical, dark, ominous, incredibly poignant concepts and stories and characters in just a very short space. Like some of these stories are really, 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 really short, and they contain a lot. They contain so much context, so much baggage, so much conflict, so much truth in just a very select words. And I think that's the marking of an amazing author. I think George Saunders is one of the best authors, period, that I've ever read. But if I have to say who's my favorite short story writer, it has to be him. He's the best. And this particular collection was just as good as the rest of his backlist. I think this one and The 10th of December are my favorite books by him. Here you will find a collection of amazing stories like sci-fi, fabulous, magical realism kind of stories, or some stories that are just a little weird and wacky. But it's a little bit like the show Severance on Apple TV Plus. It's just slightly kooky and sort of off kilter, but in reality, you're there because of the human emotion and the emotional truth that lies at the core. So this is just one of the best collections that I've ever read in my life. Anyway, those are my top 5 best and worst books that I have read thus far in 2023. I hope I can top these books, the good ones, not the bad ones, by the end of the year. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, and as always, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what are some of the best and worst books that you yourself have read this year. I am just one reader, and I will see you on the next video.